So part C, a sample of n observation is taken from the population with mean 5. So the population with mean 5, that is important. The sample mean is found to be 1.5. The sample standard deviation is 0.7. Sample standard deviation. This means that this itself, sample standard deviation, is actually 0.7. Okay, remember that. Now, a two-tailed normal test is conducted and the null hypothesis is rejected at 5% level significance. Find the least value of n. Any kind of least value of n or any kind of least values that you have, you need to use what do you call it? Classical method. Other than the inequality satisfying the significance level. So that is very important. So the first thing is you must know that you have to use classical method. Okay. Now part C, this is what you do. We are told that with n observation, the sample mean is found to be 5.1. So this sample mean is 5.1. I'm just going to list everything down now. Sample standard deviation is actually 0.7, and after which we have got alpha percentage is 5%. Okay. Now H naught, two-tailed test, mu 5, population mean. This mu is actually not equal to 5, and it's rejected. Okay, so this is rejected. So H naught is rejected. So how do we do? That is the thing. Okay. Now the first thing is this. We need to write under H naught now. Under H naught. Now we do not know what's our n, but we're just going to assume that n is a large value. So because assume that n is large. Okay. If you don't assume, you wouldn't know whether you can use CLT or not. So that's the first thing. You just assume that it's large first. Then after which, what we're going to do is under H naught test statistic. Just write it down. This will be z minus x minus 5 over s square over n. Now you use s square because this is sample standard deviation. Remember the one that I asked you to memorize. The only thing which I asked you to memorize in the whole H2 mathematics syllabus is s square over n. Remember this expression here. Seal it in. If you've forgotten about this, just remember this. You are given the sample standard deviation, not the population. So you need to use this expression here. Okay? Important, huh? Now, because you need s square over n, so in other words, s square over n would just be sigma x square over n. You just rearrange this by dividing both sides by n. That's all. Okay? So that's about it. So this case here it will just be 0.7 square over n minus. Remember that. So this case here, I'm just going to write this is normally distributed approximately by natural limit theorem. Okay, that's one. So this case here, once done already, so once done already, what we can do is we're going to just write down this would be, we are rejecting on both two-tail tests. So this either too much or too little. So this case here in the middle, this is the middle. This is H naught is true. So you are rejecting at 5%. So this is 5 divided by 2. Then you have 5% divided by 2 here. 5 divided by 2 on both sides. So you inverse norm, one side, two sides. So you just bring a calculator. Inverse norm 2.5% on one side. Now don't use center. Please don't use center. I cannot stress more because center is really bad. What I would suggest is just inverse norm one side. 0.05 divided by 2. Then you just left side will do. And you get negative 1.95996. So this is negative 1.95996. Just know that this will be symmetrical about 0. So this will just be a positive value here. Okay? It will just be positive value. Now, once you're done already, you know that H naught is rejected. Okay? So you know that Z stats So this will tell you z-stats will be less than equals to negative 1.95996, or z-stats is more than 1.95996. Okay, hold on first. This part here, what I understand is this. Your null hypothesis is 5. Your x bar is 5.1. Okay, so now you reject h knob. But I ask you, do you reject on the right tail or the left tail? Right? So this corresponds to 5. Your x bar is 5.1. So obviously you reject on the right tail, right? You don't reject on the left tail because actually you reject on the right tail here. So anyway, that's besides the point. You should know that it should reject on the right tail. But anyway, if you're not too sure, what you can do is just put 5.1 minus 5 over. So s squared over n is this value here. So this is 0.7. 0.7 squared over n minus 1. Bigger equals to 1.9596. So this one should reject because 5.1 minus 5 over 0.7 squared over n minus 1 less than 1.95996. So this case here, if you key in, this will be 0.1 over 0.7 square root n minus 1, 1.95996. Okay, I just did this is the same thing. This is bigger than. Okay, you see this is wrong. This reject. Okay, as this one is a positive value. Square root has to be positive. Root of a number is positive. Root of a number is a positive, not open square roots. This is the root of a number as this square root n minus 1 is positive. Okay, remember that. Actually, it shouldn't be equal to 0 here because n it has to be more than 0, more than 1. Okay, so this has to be more than 0. So in other words, you just take this. Now, these all fall back to the previous one, which is we reject it on the right tail, not the left tail. So by right, you can just straight away write here, this reject here as reject as x bar is more than mu. Okay, you can just reject and don't write this whole thing here. But if you insist of writing the one below, then you need to know when do you reject. So you can reject this one as x bar is more than mu. You can actually reject here straight. Okay, but if you insist to do straight, you must also know that you can reject here the second time. The first rejection passes doesn't pass through your radar. At least the second rejection, there's a second hope there. Okay. So in theory, for two-tail test, I thought it means that we should reject on both tails. No, you don't have to reject on both tails. Every time you carry a test, it's either you reject the left side or the right side. There's only if I say whether you have improved, whether there's any change in your mathematics test score, you say there's a change. Then my next question is, what do you mean by there's a change? Is it like lesser than expected or more than expected? So you will tell me it's more than expected. So there's only one way you can reject, even though you have two conditions you can reject, but you will only have one. When you carry a test, there's only one way you can reject. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So that's the reason why. So once you're done with this case here, what you do is square root n, just 1, and square both sides. Just manipulate this. Square both sides will give us 188, n will be 189.23, and so hence least n is 190. Okay, so that's how you do this question here.